Hiya, and welcome back to Adastra, the game that all furries know about, and if you don't know about it, you're a goddamn liar. Anyways, let's just let's just jump right in. Hang on, let me get the chat window back up. There we go. I look around at the pillars and the marble floor, the bright lights above me, and what looks like a garden complete with statues extending out through the archways. Well, at least I know Amicus wasn't lying about living in a palace. What do you think? Wow, I mean, it looks really cool, really expensive. I don't know if that last part was such a great compliment, but Amicus seems happy. Thanks! It's going to be your home for a while, so I'm glad you like it. Amicus adjusts his cape, fanning it out a little. This is only a small portion of the palace, of course. I'll show you around later, but for now, I want to go to my room and dry out a little. I must look like a mess right now. The humidity doesn't do my fur any favors. I can tell Amicus is genuinely embarrassed, even if he's trying to joke, so I put a hand up to my hair. I have a little less to worry about, but I'm sure my hair is pretty crazy right now. True, that patch of fur really is something, though. The wolf reaches out and touches my hair, rubbing it between the pads on his fingers. We've made physical contact several times over the last day, but this is the first time that it really feels friendly. We stand there for a moment, just long enough for things to get awkward. Amicus pulls his hand back suddenly, as if realizing what he's doing. He's saved from having to think of something to say as we both hear footsteps coming up the hall to our right. Shit. What? Hide and be quiet. Amicus whispers loudly at me and suddenly pushes me hard back the way we came. I stumble before scrambling around the corner. Footsteps get louder as I stand up and press my back against the wall, listening. Amicus? I jump, the person almost shouting Amicus's name. Cassius. Amicus's deeper voice responds, sounding cool and collected. Where the hell have you been? His voice is higher pitched and a little more articulate than Amicus's. I start to look around the corner, then hesitate, then I do it anyway, wanting to see who this person is. Luckily, Amicus has moved further down the room so that I'm slightly behind this Cassius guy. Twink. I see a white wolf, quite a bit smaller compared to Amicus, but no less intimidating. Maybe even more so. I can tell by his demeanor that he's probably not a fun person to be around. I was out hunting. Is something wrong? Hunting? For 2 days? Is that a joke? Was it that long? Yes! You were supposed to make a speech in Lux yesterday! How many times did we remind you of it? Cassius suddenly takes a deep breath. Really, Amicus, you seem to expect everyone to cover up for your mistakes. I can't comprehend how you could have forgotten. I lost track of time. That's not an excuse. How do you expect to become emperor if you act this way? Amicus growls. Don't even pretend, Cass. You're probably happy I missed it. That's ridiculous. Amicus, I only want what's best for the Empire. Amicus opens his mouth, then shuts it suddenly. No, I am not doing this tonight. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Cassius quietly regards Amicus for a moment, then shakes his head. Well, Virginia went in your stead, so you have to thank her when she returns. She's better at this sort of thing anyway. The point was to show Lux that the next possible emperor stands in solidarity with them. Sending your sister is not a good look. Well, walking around in undergarments doesn't look good either. You think that's how an emperor should behave? No one's awake, Amicus. Don't be such a pup. I'm just saying you look really small without your armor. Now that is not a good look for an emperor. Excuse me? What? I only want what's best for the Empire, and a little runt like you definitely isn't. They stare at each other for a long time, and I have no idea what's going on. I can almost see the electricity arcing between them. Finally, Cassius turns on his heel and stalks away, tail swishing furiously. That man is definitely a twink. I'm just saying, he's a twink. Good night, Amicus. Amicus stands there for a moment, still puffed out a little bit, before he finally deflates. Damn it. That's actually plastic. I stand quietly around the corner, waiting for Amicus to call me back. When he doesn't, I whisper at him, Amicus? His ears prick up and he turns to me. Hey, come on. We should go before anyone else decides to show up. Okay. I can tell by the way the wolf walks, his ears slightly down, his tail almost dragging, that he's not in a good mood. You alright? Yeah, I'm fine. My brother just knows how to irritate me, and I shouldn't have said that to him. We quietly walk through the marble halls, the echoing of our footsteps the only sound. Is he not supposed to see me? I just need to think of the right way to introduce you. Now isn't the best time. Is he the one that challenged you for the throne? Amicus is quiet for a moment before heaving a huge sigh. Yes, and he's really starting to turn my life upside down because of it. Sometimes I think he just sees all this as a game. We come at a stop at what looks like a door. It's completely smooth, though, made of what also looks like marble. Amicus doesn't make any move to open it. He never seemed concerned for me and my duties until after he made his challenge. That's what bothers me the most, knowing that it's all an act. I guess you're not really close with him then? Not since we were pups, no. A disturbing thought suddenly hits me. Well, in Earth's ancient Rome, the place where you guys uplifted, people would kill each other over the throne, like, a lot. Does that happen here? Amicus frowns. I suppose it's happened in the past, but that was a long time ago. Besides, Cassius would never do something like that. Amicus sticks out his paw and presses it to a black square on the wall. The door slides open without a sound. I feel a rush of cool air come out of the room, and Amicus lets out a happy sigh as he steps inside. That's much better. My dad's advisor keeps the climate way too hot in the rest of the palace. I follow the wolf inside and look around. Aside from a few quirks, the room looks like it could have come straight out of any luxury hotel on Earth. Amicus sits heavily on the bed, making it squeak. He starts to strip off his clothing. Toilet and bath are in there. He nods ahead at another door across from the bed. Then he jabs a thumb back at the large curtain. That's the balcony if you want to get some air, though I don't know why you would in this weather. Then he points at the couch. And that can be where you sleep, if that's alright with you. I've known other aliens to prefer the floor, though. The couch is fine. I walk over to the red sofa, sizing it up. It's more than big enough, but as I pick up the little black pillow, I notice it's covered in fur. I inconspicuously pick some of it off before a light blanket smacks into the back of my head. Ha! There you go. Is that all okay? Yep, this is good. I hope the blanket will be enough to keep off the cold that seems to be wafting down from the ceiling. Good. Like I said earlier, I'll show you the rest of the palace tomorrow. We'll get some real food, too. Amicus sprawls back on the bed, not bothering to draw up any blankets, his eyes closed. I actually want real food now, but I don't say anything and instead lay down, the sofa a bit harder than I'd expected. Good support, I guess. As I'm settling in, I think Amicus has already fallen asleep, but that's when he speaks again. And thanks, Marco. I don't know what he's thanking me for. For not killing him on the ship? For agreeing to help him become emperor? For the way I took the shitty sofa and flimsy blanket without complaint? I'm not sure, so all I say is, sure. Then I hear the wolf snoring softly, and the lights suddenly dim down until they're off. Yo. I lay there a while, though I'm not sure for how long. In fact, time seems to have lost all meaning since I was abducted. Amicus's brother said it had been 2 days, but didn't Amicus say that time freezes when traveling in the stretch drive? Had we really spent that much time idling around? I need to stop thinking about everything that doesn't make sense, because that's basically everything. I just need to help this wolf so I can get the hell back home. Then I can pick apart everything I've been through all I want. For now, I just need to help things move along as smoothly as possible. With that thought in my head, and with the soft sounds of Amicus's gentle snoring, I'm lulled into a light and troubled sleep. The dream I have is strange. I'm in a black void of some kind, and despite the emptiness, I have some sort of purpose. I don't know what that is, but I'm being driven towards it. It's not a good dream. It's a borderline nightmare. The empty void isn't the scary part, though. It's the feeling that I'm being watched by someone or something. It's the feeling that I have no say in where I'm going. No choice at all. I'm very curious about you. What? I'm limited in what I can ask, but I'll start with this. What is death to you? Yo, what's death to us? Very interesting. Sometime just before I fully wake up, I hear something moving around behind me, followed by a mumbled voice, then a soft padding sound that fades out after a few moments. I wonder if one of my flatmates just arrived and looked into my room for some reason. As I shift around, I frown at how weirdly firm the bed I'm laying on is. The bed was softer than this when I got into it. And where are the sheets? I open my eyes and see a red velvety surface in front of me. Then I turn and see an unfamiliar ceiling with a gold square pattern above me. Oh yeah. I look over toward the bed where I expect to see Amicus, but it's empty. I stare again at the ceiling for a while, letting the sudden realization that I'm still here wash over me. I go over everything that had happened yesterday, the last shred of hope that I'd been dreaming fading from my mind. I look over at Amicus's bed again, wondering if he'd gone into the bathroom. I listen for a while, but I don't hear anything coming from the door across from the bed. There's a muffled sound of what I assume are birds chirping coming from behind the curtain. Slowly, I slide off the sofa, feeling the cold marble against my bare feet as I do. I shiver and decide to bring the blanket with me, wrapping it around my shoulders. I shuffle around the sofa and move to the side of the large curtain to pull it back just slightly. The air the air that comes through is fresh and immediately reminds me of camping by a lake during summer camp. That would make sense because ahead of me is what looks like a massive body of water that seems to come right up to the edge of the balcony. It's warm, but not nearly as humid as it was last night. Pink and orange light paints the clouds on the horizon, and for a moment I take in the sight. The hills and mountains to either side of the lake are covered in lush green trees. So is the little island a ways out to my left. In the distance, on the other side of the lake, is what looks like a city of some kind. It's hard to tell how big it is since it's a good ways away, but from what I can tell, the buildings are massive, and the smaller structures that taper off to the side seem to stretch far off behind them. Dim lights from windows glitter in the distance, and I wonder if that city is full of wolves like Amicus and Cassius. Despite my situation, I kind of want to go see it. As I watch, I see a small, dark oval shape descend down towards the sun, down the city, blinking blue and red lights. I have to smile and shake my head a little. I still want to go back to Earth, but this is undeniably amazing. I let the curtain slide shut finally and turn back to the room. So where did that big wolf go to? He could have at least told me before he ran off. Good morning, Marco. I jump as the computer voice crackles overhead. I clutch my chest, breathing hard as the voice continues. Amicus has a message for you. There's a pause. Then, hey, Marco, I'm going to my morning meditation. It's in a room just down the hall, and I'll be back in approximately an hour. Why don't you take the time to get familiar with the room? There's a pause, then... Are you still recording, Calm? Yes, to end recording, say end of message. Oh, see you soon, Marco. End message. Is it still... To end recording, say end of message. My gods, end of message. I hear Amicus starting to curse again before the message cuts off. I look around the room a bit, noticing how little there is to get familiar with. I could look through the dresser, but I assume that's mostly filled with Amicus's things, and I doubt he wants me to get familiar with... Yo, what the fuck? He wants me to get familiar with those. I move across the room toward the bathroom door, standing in front of it for a moment before studying the black panel in the middle of it. It's similar to what Amicus used to open the door in the hallway. I reach out to try and push it, and the moment my fingers brush against the surface, the door slides to the side so fast that I jump. The lights inside come on, slowly illuminating the interior. I poke my head inside, then quickly step in, imagining the sliding door suddenly closing and chopping my head off. It stays open until I'm halfway in the room, then it closes automatically. There's a large sink to my left and an even larger mirror above it. In the corner, there's a marble-looking bench with a hole that I can only assume is the toilet. Finally, across from that is a large bath in what I imagine to be the shower. I actually really need to pee, so I head over to the bench and do my business down the hole, hoping that it's not something like a laundry chute and I'm pissing on the servants below. As soon as I start, though, water begins to pour down the sides of the tube, leaving me pretty sure that it is indeed a toilet. I guess I should be more confident in assuming things about this place. Everything's fairly similar to what I had on Earth. I head over to the sink and push at the faucet, then I stick my hand under it and water starts pouring out. I'm tempted to take a drink, but then I notice the water is bubbly and soapy looking. Having nothing left to do in the bathroom, I turn back to the door and find the black square again. I reach for it, and just like that, the door slides open. If he thinks he's going to get away with it, Cassius is facing away from me, his arms folded as his bushy white tail swishes from side to side. I freeze up, staring at him wide-eyed. I have plenty of time to jump to the side, maybe hide in the shower area, but I stand there like an idiot as the wolf turns around almost in slow motion. He freezes, just like I did when he spots me standing in the doorway. We stare at each other for a very long moment. Then he screeches, making me jump back in shock. Oh gods, Oedipal, what is it? The wolf dodges back and forth as if expecting me to try and run at him. Cato, help! Come quick! Finally, Cassius's little dance of terror ends with him sprinting to my left and out of the room. I stand there for a moment, listening to his screams fade down the echoing hallway, while wondering if I should hide or something, maybe go back into the bathroom and try to lock it. Instead, I hear more thudding, someone running up the hallway from the other end. Then Amicus comes running into the room, sliding to a stop in the middle of it. He spins in a circle, then spots me and runs up to me. What happened? Cassius came in and saw me. You let him see you? What? No, he just came in. Where were you? Meditating. I left a message. Where did he go? Cassius, he just ran off. Damn it. Amicus stands there, his tail thrashing back and forth. I glare at him. If you hadn't just left me here, this wouldn't have happened. Cassius shouldn't have even come in here. Amicus turns away and starts pacing back and forth. What are you doing? Hang on, let me turn it up a bit. What are you doing? Shh, I'm thinking. I bristle a little at being shushed, but I stay quiet, watching the wolf stalk back and forth. Then I hear voices again, Cassius's along with another deeper voice. Amicus turns to me. Just be quiet for a moment as I try to explain things. Understand? I glare at Amicus. His ears flatten and his expression becomes a bit more desperate. Please? I still don't say anything, but give him a curt nod. Amicus reaches out toward my shoulder, then pauses and instead offers his paw to me. I take it and he gently pulls me from the bathroom to stand next to him in the middle of the room, facing the open doorway to the hall. Amicus fixes a confident smile on his face, though I can feel how tense he is next to me. From around the corner comes Cassius, but he's hiding behind something else. Another wolf. They both stop in the doorway as the larger wolf takes in both Amicus and I. Amicus, what are you doing with it? Step away! Amicus gently places his paw around my shoulders, drawing me in against his bulk. Cassius's eyes widen at that, though the wolf next to him seems to have no reaction. Then again, that could just be because I can't see his eyes. What are you doing, Amicus? Amicus clears his throat. Cassius, Cato. He nods to each of them in turn. This is my pet, Marco. Cassius's mouth falls open. The other wolf, Cato, seems to shift a bit at that. Yo, did his ears change? Yes, they did. Silence drags out, and Cato shifts again. Is this where you were the past 2 days, Amicus? Amicus's arm tightens a bit around my shoulders, drawing me in closer. Yes. Yo, what the fuck? And that's where you took your father's ship? A slight pause. Yes. Cassius gasps. He can't do that! He glances at Cato. Can he? The bigger wolf is quiet, and even though I can't see his eyes, I get the feeling that he's watching me closely. Cassius turns his glare back on Amicus. Where did it come from? Amicus rubs my arm. He came from far away. Is he a child? Yes. What? He can't just take someone else's child, can he? Again, Cassius looks at Cato. And once again, Cato is quiet, then he finally sighs. We will discuss this over breakfast, Amicus. Get dressed and bring the creature with you. As long as he's safe? Of course. Then we will continue the conversation there. With that, Cato turns on his heel and walks out of the room, leaving Cassius to look after him with a gaping mouth. He turns back on us, snarling. I don't know what you're planning with that thing, Amicus, but if I know you, it's going to be incredibly stupid. He takes another second to look at me with unmistakable disgust. You could have at least obtained one that isn't so ugly. Leave, Cassius, and I don't think snooping around in my room again. And don't think about snooping around in my room again. Understood? Cassius doesn't respond and simply walks away, looking over his shoulder just before he leaves. And expect to receive punishment from Cato for stealing father's ship. Absolutely outrageous. I watch Cassius's tail swish out of sight behind the doorway. Amicus lets out a huge sigh and I feel his chest deflate against my shoulder. Damn it. I sigh as well. You really didn't think all of this through, did you? I slowly move out from under the wolf's heavy arm. Like I said, I made many mistakes. I'm just tired of lying now. You still told them I'm a child. Amicus brings a paw abruptly to his mouth, touching the pads of his fingers to his lips. It might not be a shushing gesture that I'm familiar with, but I know what it means. Amicus listens, his ears straight up and eyes looking at the ceiling. Finally, he looks back at me, whispering. That is something I could never tell him the truth about, and it would be best if you never mention it again. Please. His suddenly serious demeanor cools my mood a little, so I just sigh again and sit on the edge of his bed. Amicus stands there awkwardly for a moment, then quickly moves over to the open door, placing a paw to the square to close it. He moves back over to me, his voice still lowered. Well, if we're going to pass you off as a pet, then I should probably get you familiar with your duties. My duties? I raise an eyebrow at Amicus. Amicus sighs. I understand your frustration, but we need to do this right if we want things to go as smoothly as possible. You don't have to do anything, but it will help you blend in better. I roll my eyes and lean on my hands, looking up at Amicus. Alright, what do I do? Well, first of all, I take my shower and you help me wash. Help you wash? Yes, you would soap my fur and such. We stare at each other for a moment. It's something that the others wouldn't see, so I suppose it's not necessary. Unless you want to. No. Well, alright then. Never mind on that one. Amicus is clearly offended. Listen, I'm not going to soap up your naked body. Yeah, you made that clear. Anyway, I'd honestly rather skip the shower today, but spending all of that time on the spaceship has left me rather unkempt. Amicus turns to the bathroom and opens the door. You should at least come into the bathroom while I shower, in case Cassius decides to barge in again. You can stare at the wall, or something. Amicus stalks into the bathroom, and I have to smile as I follow him in, the door closing quietly behind me. Amicus notices me smirking. What? I shrug. Okay, I feel like this is like a good point to mention that the mod that I created, it censors absolutely everything. Like, there's no NSFW at all for this. Like, none whatsoever. There's none of the NSFW shit at all. Along with that, there's also no nudity anymore, except when it's explicitly covered. Yeah. I shrug. Nothing. Just kind of funny that you got so huffy. I don't know what that means. Amicus is adjusting his underwear, then it suddenly drops and I quickly look away. Heh, I suppose your people prefer modesty? Out of the corner of my eye, I can tell that Amicus has a smirk of his own. Around others, at least. And you guys don't just walk around naked, so don't you prefer modesty too? It all depends on the time and place. Amicus moves into the shower, and for the next 10 or so minutes, I sit on the counter while the room fills with steam. Once the water shuts off, a loud fan starts up, and I glance over to see Amicus with his arms out, his fur blowing back and forth. He notices me looking over, and then look away again. He almost has to shout over the fan. You could have cleaned up too if you'd showered with me, but you won't have time with breakfast coming up. You'll have to do it after. I shrug and wait as Amicus steps out and grabs clean undergarments hanging from a hook which he spends the next minute tying on. Alright, balls are gone. You can look now. Actually, do you even have those? I don't want to assume. I open the door and head back out. Guess you'll never know. Amicus spends another minute in the bathroom opening a door under the sink and rifling around in it. The next thing you're supposed to do is get the brush and oils from here. He lifts up a brush and a few glass bottles with colorful liquids inside before coming over to stand in front of me. He sighs. I know you don't want to, and I realize now that I'm repulsive to you, but I can't really reach every part of my coat, and it would be strange if I called for a drone when I have a pet. I think about another moody remark, but the expression on his face makes me pause. I suppose I am being a little bratty right now. Besides, what else am I going to do while I'm here? Sit on the sofa all day? I get up and take the brush from Amicus, and I see a surprised smile on his face. Thank you, Marco. He shows me how to apply one of the liquids, a honey-colored one, to the brush. It's a treatment for my fur. It keeps it soft and voluminous looking. Here, you just take the brush and run it with a lay of my fur. He hands the brush to me and then stands facing away. I start slowly and run the brush through the fur between his ears and down his broad back, watching as the slightly disheveled hairs line up and lay down smoothly. It accentuates his shoulder blades and the thick, smooth muscles in his back. I'm hesitant at first, but I become more confident with each stroke. It's kind of relaxing. That is, until I brush down the left side of his neck, which makes him gasp. I pull back quickly. Sorry, did I brush too hard? Amicus chuckles. Heh, no, that's just where you hit me earlier. Oh. I look closer and see that there is what looks like a lump under the fur. I carefully brush around it and move to Amicus's front. Amicus, meanwhile, has his eyes closed with a smile on his face, clearly enjoying himself. I am sorry about that, by the way. I was really scared when I did it. Don't worry about it. I deserved it for tying you up so poorly. Amicus gives me a wink. I feel my face grow a little hot as I focus on getting the fur to lay just right on his biceps. And you're not repulsive to me at all. I was just being a dick earlier. You look good. Well, I suppose I was too. Shouldn't have made fun of your sensibilities. All aliens have their own cultures which are very different, but that doesn't mean less valuable. Amicus's tone sounds weirdly rehearsed, like he's quoting something. And also thank you, Marco. I think you look good too. He might just be returning the compliment, but it's nice to hear after what Cassius said. Cassius is a bitch. But I definitely wasn't lying. And now that I'm this close to him, I have to admit that he is a little handsome. His face is expressive and kind of charming. There's just a generally friendly air about him. And, well, then there's his body. It's thick and masculine, kind of like a burly human. And I really can't deny that it's kind of appealing. Kind of. I start to brush down the wolf's front, feeling his chest and stomach rise against the brush with his breathing. I sculpted the lighter fur around his pecs to accentuate them better since it seems that's how he was keeping it earlier. I can't blame him. Then I moved to his belly, moving the brush over its thick and slightly rounded form. The muscles are less defined here, but I can still sense the strength underneath it all. As I brushed the lower part of his midsection, I noticed the crotch of his loin and cloth bulging out rather far. Alright, thank you, Marco, that should be good. He takes the brush from my hands and turns away, leaving me with the strong suspicion that he's adjusting himself, though he covers it up by pretending to mess with the other bottle. Finally, he turns around looking flushed. Hold out your paws, please. I stick out my hands and he tips the bottle over, the liquid in this one having a purplish tint to it. Several drops fall into my hand. Immediately, my nose is filled with that lavender scent that I've been smelling off of Amicus since I first met him. Rub them together, then sort of just pat my body and underarms, along my neck as well. I can tell Amicus is still flustered, so I do it quickly, not wanting to linger and cause the wolf any other problems. Maybe it just feels really good to be brushed like that? Is this like perfume? Yes, it keeps the muskier scents hidden for the most part. I see. Do you use perfume? Well, I guess I do wear something like that on my underarms. Feel free to use it then. I decide not to tell him that lavender scents are mostly for women on Earth. Besides, it does smell nice. Once the perfume is done, Amicus moves on to getting dressed, showing me how to drape his cape over his shoulders. Alright, so I know you only have the pair of clothes you came with, so I'll have a tailor drone come up later today to see if we can't make you more pairs of what you have. Oh, okay. Now, let's head to the dining room before we're late. Amicus pauses, frowning. Now, I know you won't like it, but you're going to have to feign some ignorance in front of the others. I raise an eyebrow. How so? Well, you're going to need to act a bit dumb. The antagonistic feelings that had been fading over the past few minutes start to rise up again. And how do I do that? Amicus shrugs. I don't know, give them vacant stares, incoherent mumbles, act like you can't grasp more complex matters. The whole point is to make it seem like you're a typical child. I don't like it, but I don't want to have anything to do with those aliens, so if it'll make them leave me alone. Alright. Amicus lets out a breath, clearly relieved. Thank you, Marco. This may not always have to be the case, but for now we need to play on the safe side of things. Just let me do all of the talking. You got it. Great, now let's hurry to the dining room. I don't want to make Cato more angry than he already is. And with that, I follow Amicus out into the hallway. So who's Cato? The wolf you saw with my brother. He was my father's advisor, and currently the acting emperor. I mentioned earlier that he'll be choosing between me and my brother. That's why I'm doing my best to keep him in a good mood. Or at least, not a bad mood. I don't think he has a good one. I keep in mind to stay on Cato's good side as well. Meanwhile, sunlight pours in through the open windows, and I can hear birds calling from outside again. Birds? What was that? I can hear birds. I'm just surprised they sound the same as they do on Earth. Yes, you wouldn't know this. All life has the same origin, and develops in a roughly similar way. It's only natural that life here is similar to your planet, I mean. Oh. Well, all life on this side of the universe, at least. There may be another, but we'll have to leave that conversation for later. For now, I'll follow Amicus around a corner and find myself standing in a large, spacious room. First thing I notice are the large screens on each side of the wall, displaying colorful images of stars, galaxies, and spaceships. In the middle of the room are what looks like beds surrounding a table. In those beds are the two wolves I saw earlier. Cato is sitting and leaning over toward Cassius, who is draped luxuriously over one of the beds. Cato is talking to Cassius while the other wolf has on his typical sour expression. Sitting on the floor in front of Cassius is a creature that I've never seen before. It's definitely not a wolf, more feline-like. Cassius has his paw on its head, idly scratching it while he listens to whatever Cato is saying. He sees us and abruptly stops, sitting up. Cato stops talking and looks over at us. You're late. And good morning to you too, Cass. And to you, Cato, Alexios. Amicus turns to Cato and the small cat creature, bowing to both of them. Good morning. Morning, Amicus. The cat Alexios nods at Amicus with a smile. At the same time, I see Cassius tug at the gold collar around his neck. It isn't very much, but Alexios immediately drops a smile from his face, looking down. How many times do I have to tell you not to acknowledge him, Amicus? Amicus seems to ignore Cassius, walking to the empty bed while pulling me along with him. He whispers in my ear, "Sit in front like Alex is doing." I look over at the cat and see his ears perk up in our direction, though he continues to avoid looking at us. He's in a kneeling position, so I do the same, starting to feel a little uneasy about this whole setup. Amicus, meanwhile, stretches out across the bed, an elbow in the cushions as he props himself up. Calm, send in breakfast. Yes, Cato. A few seconds later, literal flying saucers levitate into the room from beyond another archway. I get a moment to see some sort of black device on the other side of the plates before they gently come to rest on the table. I blink but don't say anything, deciding to just take everything in without question. I decide instead to focus on the food. I can at least identify a few of the portions, one of them being what looks like bread. There's a plate of odd, white, crumbly substance, and next to that is a bowl of what I'm pretty sure are olives. There's a glass bottle filled with some type of red liquid, probably wine. Finally, in the middle, next to some towel-like napkins, is roasted poultry, golden colored and steaming. It actually smells really, really good, and considering that I haven't eaten any real food in over a day, I feel my mouth water. Still, I have enough common sense to know that I probably can't just dig in, so I keep an eye on the cat, waiting to see what he does next. He grabs 4 small plates from the tall stack and sets them down in front of himself. Then he starts to grab some slices of bread, which he sets down on one of the plates. I look back at Amicus and he nods. I do the same, grabbing 4 plates and setting them down in front of myself on the table, starting to grab the separate portions of food to set them on their own plate. Meanwhile, Cato just looks over to grab his own while Cassius clears his throat. So, Amicus, what is this? I look up and immediately find Cassius's eyes boring into mine. I quickly look back down and grab up the wooden-handed knife that Alexios just set down, using it to spread the white stuff onto the slices of bread. I wrinkle my nose at how stinky it is, and I realize it's probably some type of cheese. This is Marco. He's my pet. No, Amicus, what is it? It's not one of our children. Does it belong to a sibling? I'm half listening to the conversation while I see Alexios reach out with his bare hands and pull a chunk of meat off of the poultry. I hesitate, kind of wishing I'd had a chance to wash my hands, but do it anyway, wincing at how hot it is. The temptation is strong just to stuff it in my mouth, but I manage to set it down on the plate. Finally, I grab a bunch of olives and put them on their own plate. At this point, I can see that Alexios is lining his plates up in front of Cassius on the bed. Carefully, I do the same for Amicus, though I lose an olive in the process. I watch it roll across the ground, but decide to ignore it, and Amicus just pats my head with a muttered, "Thank you." No, he's from a failed uplift. I watch as Alexios starts filling a goblet with the red liquid, but look up when I realize there's complete silence. Cassius and Cato are both staring at Amicus. I look back at him and see that he looks pretty calm, though I can see him picking at his claws. Are you serious? Yes. Why? He's a barbarian. Because I've decided the abandoned children deserve to reestablish regular contact. If we're to reunite with the Chemians, then we also need to unite ourselves. I start filling Amicus's goblet as I feel his eyes on me. Child or not, having a pet like this will show the Chemians my intentions. Cassius scoffs loudly, popping an olive into his mouth and chewing it vigorously. Masterful stunt, Amicus, but you still stole Father's ship to get there. Using stretch tech without authorization from the Emperor is a violation of the law. Is it not, Cato? I hand the goblet to Amicus, silently wondering if the wolf is going to be thrown in jail my first day here. What would happen to me then? Still, Amicus looks calm, and when he sees my wide eyes, he just winks. It could be, but there is no Emperor there, Cassius. Cato finally lays back his small plate heaped high with food. He turns his head back to Amicus. Are you saying you piloted the ship to the outer reaches of our empire? Voice commands only work for the Emperor, if I'm not mistaken. That is correct. I learned to navigate the ship on my own. I was also able to communicate with their people, negotiate, and sign a contract with them. This is where I start to hear Amicus's voice falter. I actually do believe now that he doesn't lie often, because it's clear that he's so bad at it. I copy Alexios and return to my kneeling position next to the bed, then switch to a cross-legged one when my knees get too sore. Cato watches from his bed silently, and I again feel unnerved at the feeling that he might be looking at me. Fascinating. Cassius curls his lips back. Fascinating. He used the stretch drive. He's going to get away with it because father is dead? What does that make of all the other laws? Can a beggar now steal from the market because there is no authority to tell him not to? Can a child rebel from the empire because there is no emperor to tell them, quiet, Cassius, you know the circumstances as well as I do. Cassius snaps his mouth shut with a huff, turning his attention back to his food, which he starts to pick at. Conversation seems to stop there, and I wonder if Amicus is in the clear. While Cassius sure seemed indignant, I get the feeling that Amicus wasn't in any danger in the first place. I guess being the Emperor's son has its perks. Could you get me some more of the Azure, Mako? I look over to the table in confusion. What's that? I try to keep my voice low, but that's when Cassius suddenly yells, clapping a paw to his head. Oh gods, it doesn't even speak the language. I look between Cassius and Amicus in confusion. Of course not. They were abandoned. Most of the abandoned still speak the language. How far away is his home star? Roughly 50,000 light years. I don't care. Don't have it speak again. Last thing I need is a headache from the lingua manually translating everything he says. It's barbaric. I don't know if he's calling the headache barbaric or me. Probably me. Upload his language to the Nexus before you let it out in public again, Amicus. I decide I really don't like Cassius. Bro, he's a twink. He's talking about me like I'm just a piece of property. Then I feel Amicus's paw on my shoulder for a moment, giving a soft squeeze before pulling back again. The conversation topic then shifts to stuff I don't really understand, mostly politics and the Chemians, whatever that is. Despite their fight earlier, Amicus and Cassius are pretty animated in their conversation. Amicus keeps sticking empty plates in my face, indicating that I should refill them. It's clear that I'm not going to be eating while the wolves are, and I feel my irritation grow. I'm not a servant, I didn't agree to this, and even if this is supposed to help me blend in, I can't help but feel Amicus should have put me in a better position than this. Virginia sent me a letter last night saying she'd be bringing back a Chemian tomorrow. He got trapped here after the stretch drive depletion. Oh, he wasn't able to return on the retrieval ship? He was on Anchorus at the time, so it took him several months to get back to Adastra. He's going to be our guest until the next ship arrives. I think it will be quite interesting to see one in person. Who can say that they've met two siblings? Cassius reaches down and starts stroking Alexios' head fur. The green and gray cat closes his eyes, smiling and purring. I watch this for a moment, then freeze up as I feel Amicus's paw on my head. He starts to gently scratch his blunt claws into my scalp, ruffling my hair around. It actually feels really good, but knowing what he's doing gets me pissed off all over again. He already knows I don't want to be doing this, that he brought me here against my own will. Now he's stroking me in public like I actually am his pet? Well, I guess it makes sense. I guess he's doing his part to help me blend in, just like I'm doing mine. But that doesn't mean I don't hate it. And then his other paw sticks his empty goblet down under my nose. More wine, please. I let the goblet hang in the air for a moment, then take it and reach out robotically for the heavy wine bottle, getting up on my knees to better pour it into the empty goblet. I fill it up as Amicus continues to stroke me. I'll bet even fewer can say they've met an abandoned species, wouldn't you think? Cassius glares at Amicus and I glare at the wine. I swear, that line just perfectly portrays this one sound that I heard a while ago, where it was like, dogs... No, it was like John Mulaney, I think. Dogs have... Like, dogs feed off of your vibes. Like, if you're angry, they're angry. Like, you could be yelling at the ref, you're like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And the dog will be like, yeah, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I don't know what this guy's mad at, but I love this guy. Is it the door? Are you mad at the door? Cassius glares at Amicus, and I glare at the wine. I try to remind myself that this is just to help me get home. Or maybe he actually is showing me off because he likes how he's getting under Cassius's fur. I turn on my knees to face the wolf and hand back his goblet, noticing how full it is, the wine almost sloshing over the rim. Amicus reaches out for the goblet. My fingers twitch, then I feel the goblet slip out of my hand, watching as it seems to fall in slow motion onto its side on the bed. The wine shoots out in a red gush, splashing across Amicus's lighter furred front. The wolf gasps, sitting up suddenly as the wine pours down his chest and stomach and onto his pants. Damn. Meanwhile, Cassius bursts out laughing behind me, snorting obnoxiously. Maybe there's a reason Sophia ventured out to meet them, Amicus. I see Alex staring at me. When I meet eyes with him, he looks down. Amicus reaches over me for one of the towels, glancing down at me as he does. I try to keep myself from smirking, but I think I fail. He pauses at me in astonishment, as I guess he realizes that I did it on purpose. He doesn't look angry, though, and instead grabs up the towel and starts patting down his front, his fur still stained a dark maroon color. What are you doing, Amicus? Cassius has finished his laughing, and I look over to see him staring at us. What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm cleaning up the mess. Amicus growls at Cassius, continuing to pat himself down. Dear gods, you really don't know how to do this. Punish it. Cassius lazily flops his paw in the air in a slapping motion. I snap my gaze to Amicus, glaring again. What? No, I can't do that. Why not? It's in the contract. No physical punishments, just like Alexios's. What? You heard me. Alexios is a sibling. It's barely even a child. He is mine and none of your business. Punishment is the only way to teach the lesser species, Amicus. He looks at me. You, creature, up. I'll hit you instead. Cassius! I jump, so does Amicus, ears ringing as Amicus's deep voice bellows over me. Meanwhile, Cato just lounges on his bed, listening. Or maybe not. I'll make this very clear right now. You are never to lay upon him or give him orders of any kind. Cassius, having recovered, raises an eyebrow at Amicus. And if I do, brother? Amicus's fur starts to lay flat on his shoulders again as he shrugs. I'll punch you. You can't do that. We're not pups anymore. And if you call him it again, I'll do the same. Cassius seems to choke for a moment. What in the world has gotten into Amicus? He looks at the older wolf. Cato! Yes, Cassius? Well, do something. He can't threaten me like that. Amicus, be nice to your brother. Swear to God. Even though, I have played this a lot, I swear, it's like... Oh, fuck. You can't see Amicus. Let me just... Hang on. Let me figure out, Well, shit. I feel like I should actually move this over to here. And move it down to there. What the heck is image 3? Oh, yeah. That. Fuck. Shit. Fuck. Control Z. Here we go. Yep, everything's still working, and then I'll move it down to... Yo, what? Oh, that's what's happening. There we go. Fixed it. Okay. But as I was saying, he's like the older brother, like the skater dude, who's just like, yo, dude. Something like that. He's the bitchy younger one. And he's the dad that's just completely over everything. And I swear to God, that's how it is. Amicus, be nice to your brother. Cassius's ears turn bright red and he slumps on the bed, glaring at his remaining food. Anyway, if you two are finished, then be off to your studies. Don't be late this time, Amicus. Your tutor complained last week. That's today? You know you should take care to start paying more attention. After seeing what you accomplished, I'm starting to lean toward trials and making my decision. The room suddenly goes very quiet. And Cassius, I need to speak to you a moment before you leave. Amicus gets to his feet and I do the same. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to do this, but I'll move this back up there for a bit. Wolf glances at Cassius and Cato, but they're deep in conversation. He turns back to me. I forgot that it's my study day, so I'll be gone for a little while. I'm going to ask Alexios to show you around and give you something to do while I'm away. I feel myself grow tense at the idea of being without the only person I know around here. Seriously? Listen, you don't have to do anything. I'll make that clear to everyone, but I feel you might rather have something to do rather than sit in my room all day. He seems to think it's the chores that I'm upset about rather than him leaving me alone. Alright. Amicus frowns at me, and I can't help but feel a little bad. He does seem to be trying to make things as easy as possible for me. Sorry. I gesture at his still stained front. Don't worry. Yes, wine isn't easy to get out of the fur, but I know why you did it, and I deserved it. Is it... He's speaking... It's his language again? Shut up, Cassius. What? Alexios. Amicus gestures at the small cat who's currently stacking the dirty dishes on top of each other. Could you please show Marco around the palace along with the tasks and activities you do? He's unfamiliar with nearly everything. I would be happy to, Amicus. So you can order my pet around? Cato, standing over by the doorway and clearly eager to leave, sighs. Enough. Try to be reasonable, Cassius. Now both of you be off to your studies, and a quick shower for you, Amicus. Amicus grumbles and starts to turn away, then turns back to me, resting upon my shoulder. I'll be back toward the evening. The big wolf pauses as if wanting to say more, but leaves me with a simple, I'll see you then. And with that, he gives me a little wave and another wink before following Cassius and Cato through the archway. Just as Amicus leaves, Cassius pauses to give me a sour look. Then again, most of his expressions are pretty sour, but it still makes me uncomfortable. Then I'm left alone with the cat. I feel an odd sense of loneliness at seeing Amicus just leave like that. It's like my mother just dropped me off at preschool or something. He's the only one here that's been treating me like an actual person. Mostly, at least. I hear the small sound of someone clearing their throat behind me. Hello. The small cat smiles at me pleasantly, his paws clasped neatly in front of himself. I say he's small, but he's really about the same height as me. It's just odd seeing another alien that's my size when I always have to look up at the wolves. Hi. I see Alexios' left eye twitch as he raises a paw to his head. Oh dear, this is going to be an interesting day. Is something wrong? More twitching. Just my lingua. It will take me a while to learn your language, but it gets better the more you speak, so if you don't mind, I'd like to know more about you. I'm very curious. Amicus told me to act dumb, so I try to figure out how I might do that. I fix a distant look in my face. Far away. Alexios blinks, then giggles. Oh. We both stand there awkwardly for a moment before he gestures at the table. Well, why don't we have a seat? We eat their leftovers when they've finished. The cat moves over to sit on Cato's bed, reaching for his own small plate. I'm reminded of how hungry I am, so I quickly do the same, choosing to sit on Cassius's bed since Amicus's is covered in wine. Will this food agree with your stomach? I think so. It actually looks kind of like some of the stuff I eat back at home. It's basically olives, bread, and meat. I'll point to each of the dishes. Alexios puts his paw back up to his head. Oh my, so many words. And in full sentences, too. I freeze. I don't really know what this food is. I'm just guessing. No, it's your words. So many of them. And in complete complex sentences. Fuck. I'm bad at this. I guess the wolves uplifted intelligence a lot more back then. Oh, maybe. I wonder if I've ruined our plan already, but Alexios doesn't seem alarmed, just curious, so I turn my attention back to the food. There isn't much left on the table. The meat was mostly cleaned off the bones by Cato. Next to it are 4 slices of bread and the bowl of olives. Alexios starts on the poultry, working at it with his claws until it comes apart in 2 pieces with a loud tearing sound. He hands me 1/2. You should be able to find a little meat on there. I take it from him, trying not to show my disappointment. Then he puts 2 slices of bread on a plate and slides it toward me before taking the remaining 2. Make sure to use the cheese. The bread is a bit bland without it. I'll pull a few thin strips of meat off of the bone and taste it. It's good. Really, really good. And I quickly search the bones for more, but there isn't much at all. Hungry? I look up and see Alexios delicately picking at his own half of bird. Yeah, haven't eaten in a few days. Oh, really? Why not? The trip here was a bit rough. I guess I did eat on the ship, but it wasn't really filling. Oh, like the protein sludge they have? Yeah, that stuff is quite terrible. I can understand why you're hungry. Well, you won't have to worry. Why not? We eat dinner with our masters in their rooms. Amicus always serves himself very large portions, and also sneaks me my own food since Cassius doesn't take much himself. Alexios slowly spreads cheese onto his bread. He would take very good care of you in that respect. With that mention of Amicus, I start to feel a bit lonely again. Actually, something I've noticed is the whole palace seems to be lonely. So, where is everyone? Alexios chews thoughtfully on his bread. Try to think of a way to phrase things stupidly. Then I give up as I decide he already knows I'm able to form complex sentences. This palace doesn't seem to have very many people around. Oh, well, do you expect others to be here? Well, I guess like servants or guards or some other officials. Most needs in the palace are covered by artificial intelligence and drones. Same goes for the palace defense. I suppose it may be different where you're from, but the siblings learned long ago that the fewer sapiens you have in a location that needs to be secure, the better. You and I are an exception. The bread tastes like literal chalk, so I decided to spread a bit of the cheese on it despite the smell. To my surprise, it's salty and creamy and not bad at all. The smell is hard to ignore, though. So, what is the point of having a pet then? Amicus didn't tell you? Well, he did. He just mentioned status and stuff. Is there any other reason? Why do we have to do stuff for them if they have robots that can do it instead? Status is the main reason, yes. Our duty is to be by their side during public appearances or in official meetings. Obviously, having an artificial sapient doing the same isn't impressive at all. We don't really have to do anything manual in the palace, but Cassius likes the idea of a sapient being his servant. He says it reminds him of the old days. I see. Amicus told me that I don't really have to do anything for him, except brush his fur. Ah, yes. Amicus is very meticulous about that. Do you know him well? Fairly well. I've been here for a few months now, so I've had my fair share of interactions with him, even though Cassius doesn't like it. I see. What do you think of him? I think that you're very lucky to have a master like Amicus. Why is that? Well, Amicus is very kind. Sometimes he tries to be all official and assertive, and he likes to tease me, but he comes off as more open, whether he intends to or not. This all compared to Cassius, of course. I think for a moment. Do you not like being Cassius's pet? There's a pause, though Alexios continues to smile. Cassius is very specific about how he wants to be talked to and such, but there is a great quality for a prospective emperor to have, for sure. But in casual conversation, it's much easier to talk to someone like Amicus. I take a sip of the wine, and as far as I can tell, it's similar to the few times I've had it on Earth. He has been really nice to me. At least, after the whole kidnapping thing. He is a very nice person. He just tends to not think everything through. Alexios' eyes flick to look behind me before he focuses back on my face. Understand that normally we shouldn't speak so candidly about our masters. This is just a conversation between pets. Oh, yeah, I understand. There's a moment of silence that goes on just long enough to be uncomfortable. Yes, I thought you would. I have to say that you're extremely perceptive, almost on the same level as a sibling. I wince internally as Alexios points out my intelligence again. Only took me 10 minutes to fail my one and only job. Alexios smiles at me again. Ah, was I not supposed to know that? Apparently he's perceptive as well. Don't worry. Like I said, this is between pets. Alexios leans in conspiratorially. I don't just blab everything I know to my master. I'm simply his servant, not spy. He leans back again. Though he might wish I was, but honestly, it's really nice to be able to talk to someone other than my superiors. Amicus was the only one to treat me as an equal, but Cassius usually keeps our contact minimal. I put the last bit of bread into my mouth, and as soon as I do, Alexios sits up. Calm, we're finished. Yes, Alexios. I watched with fascination as the dishes levitate off the table and float away through the archway they originally came through. Do you want to go outside? Like I said, there's not much to do, but the gardens do require a more sapient touch to keep them presentable. Yeah, sure. I brush crumbs off my jeans and stand up. I'm still hungry, but the amount I've eaten has taken the edge off of it, at least. Okay. We're going to leave off here. Not usually as long as I typically go for now, but oh well. Hang on, I'm gonna send out a tweet real quick. Just so I say with confidence something. Because something changed. There's been a change of plans. Okay. Like I said, change of plans. Streams are coming back to 10 p.m. starting tomorrow. Or I guess, starting April 25th. No, not 25th, 24th. Starting April 24th now, streams are back to 10. Yeah, I didn't know how long it would be. But stay safe and have a good night.